4D Buildable Snowman Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a 4D buildable snowman that has different head options, which sounds really weird but is true. So you can have like a little top hat and a different color scarf, or you can have like a knit cap. So it's very cute, and you can make a whole bunch of different body pieces for it too, and you could switch things out. And if you had a couple of these, like one on each ring finger, you could switch them from hand to hand and just change things up whenever you wanted. So I love that little element of it. I love things that are customizable. So I hope you guys like it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well. I'm going to begin with an overlay of clear acrylic. That little gray gradient I did in the background was done with gel polish, so just a layer of clear acrylic in the background is what is needed. So apply that very basic just to create some strength on the nail. Especially if you're doing a press-on style nail like this one is, you really don't have to make sure that the background is very thick. It's not quite as permanent as an actual sculpted nail, and if you are sculpting your nails, you can use your own judgment there. But then I'm going to file the nail into shape with my E-file, starting out with the coarse bit to remove any bulk, and then switching to a finer bit to create a nice smooth surface to work on top of. File like so, and then I'm going to create two little grooves in the nail for where my magnets are. So the first one, and here's the second one. And if you are doing this directly on a person, be very cautious when you're doing that so you don't create any heat spikes. And I'm going to glue a magnet into each of those two grooves. When you glue the second magnet in, make sure that you are completely covering the first one, or your magnets are just going to want to stick together and they won't stay in their own little spots. Then with the colors French Valley and Cashmere Gray from Madame Glam, I'm going to create my little gradient. So I've got the two colors, the lighter gray on the top and the darker gray on the bottom, and I'm going to blend them together with a small piece of a makeup sponge. And after they're fairly well blended together, I'm going to go ahead and cure that, and then repeat the process with a second coat. So there's the second coat of each of those colors, and then blend them again. And I wasn't worried too much about making sure that my colors were blended perfectly. I kind of liked the sort of spongy look in the background. I thought that made it look a little bit like it's snow falling at the moment. And then apply a layer of matte gel top coat over the whole thing and cure it one more time. So now I'm going to sculpt the bottom snowball on the nail. The other two are sculpted on the nail but with a protection layer in them. So just sculpt that first one directly on top of the nail surface like so. And I know I just said matte gel top coat, and it is not matte, it is glossy. So that's, yeah, I've got a cold if you guys can hear that, so all my brain thoughts are a little crooked. So after you have that first one done, you can trim off a couple pieces of some brown thread, and then wrap the nail very tightly with some plastic wrap and apply another magnet on top of the lower one, so the one that's closest to that snowball you just sculpted. Then with more white acrylic, sculpt the middle snowman, the middle snowball of your snowman, so it's slightly smaller than the first one that you made on the nail. Just use the tip of your brush to sort of tuck in the edges. The acrylic is probably going to want to spread on top of that plastic wrap, so it does take a little bit more to keep the edges clean. Just make sure that you keep an eye on that. Then after that first layer is on there, stick your thread into, or just onto the snowball, and then add a second layer to cap the thread pieces in and to make sure that that snowball is thick enough that it's strong enough not to just break. So just finish that off like that. Kind of clean up any edges that need it. And then after that set, you can pop that off the plastic wrap and stick it on the nail. And after that one's on the nail, you're going to repeat the process with your plastic wrap and your magnet. So wrap it with your plastic wrap once again, magnet on top of the plastic wrap. And I'm using a pinching tool to hold my plastic wrap in place, and that is the best way I have found to do this. So if you guys have a pinching tool in hand and you're making a design like this, definitely utilize it to hold your plastic wrap tight. Then sculpt the head of your snowman. So for the head, I decided, like I said, this is a buildable snowman, and I wanted to make it so that there was some choices and it always wasn't just the same head that was being used. And so I have two different faces and hats that I use. So for the first one, start out with the nice little round white circle, and then I'm going to be sculpting a black top hat on this one. So this to me is like the boy snowman. Obviously there are, I mean, anybody can wear a black top hat. That really doesn't matter on gender, but you know, I've got the two different personas of snowmen. So here's the first one, just with a black top hat. And to do that, create first a little black trapezoid on the very top. Make sure that you're completely covering up your magnet. And the magnets, even though they are so teeny tiny, they do add some thickness that you might not typically make your stuff quite that thick to cover them up. So when you are working on something like this, keep in mind that they may have to be a little bit thicker than you would prefer. On the bottom of the head of my snowman, I'm going to be sculpting a red scarf for this one. So this one has a red scarf and the other one has a green scarf. So I just have a couple of differences with my two snowmen to keep them, a little interesting. Add the first part of the scarf going right around the neck, and then add the little hanging down part going down one side. And then with orange, add the little carrot nose. Doesn't take too much orange. It's a nice, small, petite little carrot nose. Repeat this process once again for the second head. So you can do the plastic wrap, then do the magnet, and then this time I just held it. Sometimes I forget to use the pinching tool myself. So for this second one, like I said, this one I would say is more of like my female snowman with a different kind of hat. And this hat is going to be more of a knit style hat with a little pom-pom on top. So start out once again with the white circle for your head. And depending on how crazy you guys want to get, one thing that I was thinking that would be cool is if you had, say, 4 of these little buildable snowmans on your nails, that you could have a whole bunch of different pieces and you could switch them up so that they were all different across all the nails and you could trade out which piece was where. I just think that would be fantastic. So if you were planning on doing this, I would recommend doing that just because I think it'd be really cool. And you'd be like, hey, this head should go over here, that middle should go over there, this one needs a blue scarf, etc. So for this one, to create that little stocking cap, first create a half circle of red acrylic right on top of the head. Same thing, make sure that you are covering up that magnet completely. And then add another smaller red dot for the pom-pom on top. And then create the brim of the hat with just a touch more red acrylic on the sides. If you want it to be very 3D, you could create that red acrylic going all the way across the front. But for me, I just created that front little band using the tip of my brush and pressing in on the middle of the hat. Then add your scarf with green, and all these colors can be switched up. You wouldn't have to do red and green. If you didn't want this to be Christmas colors, then blue scarves or purple or pink or whatever you wanted, you could definitely have some fun with it. And then add that little bit of the little hanging down part of the scarf and the carrot nose. So now the kind of fun part for me is adding all the details to my snowman I use gel polish and acrylic paint. So to add the shadows and the highlights on my snowballs, I used the color Cashmere Gray, which is the lighter gray from Madam Glam, and I used the color Shimmer White from Madam Glam. And that Shimmer White is so perfect for creating the highlights on snow because it's a nice bright white. It's not an off-white at all, but it's got that nice little metallic shimmer to it that makes it look so much like snow. Snow has that shimmer to it as well. So I thought that was perfect. And then at any point you can flash cure these so that your gel isn't going to run. But I use the color True Fire Brick Red, which is a very, very bright red, and the color Lost in the Woods, which is kind of like your classic grass green. And I'm going to be adding details to my scarves and to the hats just with those colors. So on the red scarf, I added a little chevron pattern with the brighter red, the True Fire Brick Red. And then on my green scarf, I had stripes with the Lost in the Woods. And then on the hat, I added just a stripe across it with the Cashmere Gray on the top hat, and then add a little bit of the color Bang Bang on their noses for a shadow, that color is like a pumpkin orange. And then I'm going to be adding just a couple black details, a little bit of an outline on the bottom edge of each snowball. I didn't go completely around them, I didn't think that was necessary, but just a little bit, kind of finish them off. And then a little bit of outlines on their face and on their hats and on their scarves. When you do add the details to their face, I decided to make them a little bit almost lopsided just to make them a little bit goofy. I wanted to kind of keep with this. You can switch things out and have them look a little bit lopsided. I just thought that was kind of a fun little additive there. And then after all of that painting is done, I applied a layer of matte gel top coat over each piece of the snowman and cure that, and it's all done. This little creation is so much fun. This is another one that was actually an idea of my mom's. The last video I uploaded yesterday, the cookie sheet was an idea of hers, and there was one day I was riding in the car with her and I was like, you know what, I need to create some 4D Christmas designs. And she just started spewing stuff out. And so I got my pen out and I started writing things down like crazy. But I hope you guys like this as much as I do, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!